Hey, this is Rob Swanson with the Real Estate Mogul Show. Let's get into it.
Oh, hey, how you doing? I'm Joe Swanson. Welcome to the Real Estate Mogul Show. Now, you probably expected Rob, and for good reason. He opens the show most every week. Now, before I get into why you're seeing me instead of Rob, let me tell you, Rob and Henry had an incredible show, great conversation, all about artificial intelligence, how it is disrupting the industry. Real estate industry is no different. But instead of shying away from that, now what FreedomSoft has done is they're using DealAI technology baked into tools like the Dig Tool. And Rob and Henry talk about the Dig Tool, how it can powerfully amplify your lead generation and in multiple different ways. And so we showcase it a little bit here on the show. They have a great conversation. Rob even tells a story about how a guy, a user of FreedomSoft, an investor, used the Dig Tool and amplified his business by 9 deals in a quarter, adding $150,000 to his revenue. So just by using and letting FreedomSoft Dig Tool work for him. So incredible show. I know you're gonna love it. Now, the reason Rob's not here telling you about it is because the producer of the show, we had an audio fail. So I feel responsible for telling you that we're getting into the show a little bit late. And so we're coming into it already into the conversation. Because we didn't capture the first part of the show's audio. Now, we're going to be talking about the Dig Tool, artificial intelligence, and all these topics coming up in future shows as well. So enjoy the rest of the show that we did capture. I appreciate your patience, and I hope you love it. Hope you get a lot of value out of the show. And here's Rob and Henry. Thanks.
And here at FreedomSoft, about 1.5 years ago, we said, now we didn't know at that time when ChatGPT was going to release. We didn't know when, AI was going to become the explosive conversation everywhere. But what we knew was there were things that we could do that were intelligent around data and information and opportunity finding inside of FreedomSoft with all of the data that we have access to and that our users utilize on a regular basis. And so we started to develop and build a technology that we call DealAI. Now, the first tool that we released that is powered by DealAI is the Dig Tool. And the Dig Tool is something that we call a lead amplification tool. What it does is it takes your existing leads and 10x's the opportunity off of every single lead. So whether you're building a list, whether you're importing a list from another data provider, whether you're driving inbound leads, no matter what you're doing, whether it's a list or an inbound lead sitting on your dashboard, what the Dig Tool does is it looks at that address and it says, what's the geography of this address? What are the motivation factors of this address? What's going on with this address? And the Dig Tool digs up 8 new opportunities in the similar geography for that you might be interested in. And so for every lead you get, FreedomSoft says, I'll bet we could find more like this where the seller has an interest in selling and potentially motivation. Let's go find that and display it on your dashboard in front of you and give you more opportunity. It's almost like automated list building. It's like real-time list building, right?
I was thinking about this morning, and to me, this is like a bird dog. The old time, like when I was doing first real estate with you.
Yep.
We would connect with people, and you would sort of get a connection with somebody and say, "Hey, be a bird dog for me. You're in this neighborhood. You're my construction guy. You're this. You're that." But you are sort of embedded in the neighborhood.
Yep.
And you can dig around visually or otherwise and see some motivated factors and come back to me and tell me about those in the neighborhood. And this is doing that on a digital and a amplified version of that. You have a bird dog system inside of FreedomSoft that's going around embedding itself in the areas looking for those motivations and targeting it.
Yeah, it's a smarter, deeper layer of a version of driving for dollars.
100%.
Right? It's like with driving for dollars, they teach you, plan a route in your local market and drive and go look for X, Y, and Z, and then write down the addresses or plug them into wherever. And the dig tool takes that to the next level and actually uses data and analysis of the property that you were already looking at to not require you to drive around and hope for tall grass or anything like that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Like when we first released it, I can remember sitting in our development meetings and product and development meetings and having this thought. I wonder if we could prove that the deals or the opportunities that are dug up by the dig tool, I wonder if we could prove that those opportunities presented to a user close on a higher percentage rate than the deal that triggered the dig tool itself. So meaning if you go build a list, or if you import a list, or if you get an inbound lead, and what is the percentage of times that deal closes, right? So we looked at that deal close rate, and then we went to the dig tool and we said, okay, that deal initiated these opportunities, these additional opportunities. What is the percentage of time that when a user saw one of those opportunities pop up, that deal got added to an opportunities list and then went from status new opportunity to closed? And the percentage, we proved that the percentage of the AI found opportunities was higher, the closing percentage was higher than the deal that triggered the dig tool itself. Wow. That was pretty powerful. We had our development team. I had our development team one day go in and pull the stats. And we went in and we pulled the stats and we said, okay, let's figure out what the close rate is, across a segment of users. And then let's go and say for the users using the dig tool, for every one that got added as an opportunity, what was the percentage of those that moved to closed status?
Yeah, it allows you to be more targeted. And I know, like 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, you guys talked about texting being dead. And in a world where it's just getting harder and harder to generate leads on a massive, mass marketing level, the infiltrating AI to give you a smarter, more motivated, better lead to save you time throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
It's going to be clutch.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think it's cool. And we were talking about this in the office this week, but how it's sort of in a handful of different places in FreedomSoft going and digging around. It's not just, whether you're using the smart search or whether you're building a list, it's in there doing it in those different places.
Yep. That's right.
So.
Totally right. Well, let's do this. Let me pull it up here on the computer screen, and let's just show people what we're talking about. I mean, it's one thing to talk about it, right? And to say, hey, we proved that it works. It's another thing to just kind of see it. So let's do this. Why don't pick a city, guys? Pick a city. What city should we?
Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City, Missouri. All right. So we're going to go here to Tools. We're going to go to Lead Finder, and we're going to search for seller leads. And we're going to click Next. We're going to go here, Kansas City, Missouri.
Yep. Shout out Chris. This is my buddy. He was talking to me about Kansas City.
And let's see. Well, so we'll just do Kansas City. We won't do county or anything. So Kansas City.
Shout out Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
Oh, so pop culture.
Oh man!
All right,
so now on Lead Finder, you can build an absentee owner list, right? Or you could build an owner occupied list, and these are just preset list structures that you can go with. You can always hit this show advanced search, and you can go build your own list too. So I always usually like to start with something. So let's just start with our tired landlord list.
Henry's favorite list.
Yeah, that's a good one. And we're in the city of Kansas City, and you can see the count is going up. We're almost 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, 3,500, 4,000.
Oh, it's going to be large.
4,500. It's going to be huge. Yeah. I just want to see. I want to see it. I want to see it build. And then what we'll do is we'll go back here in a second, and it's going to be. We're over 9,500.
Wow, look at it go.
10,000. There we go. 10,500. Okay.
Tired landlords.
10,500 tired landlords in the city of Kansas City. Okay. That is a clutch list. Now, if you were to take that list and just add it to a list in FreedomSoft and then do some of the filtering that we teach using some of our advanced filtering techniques, you'll get that list down to something that's very targeted, that has a very high propensity to be an interested seller with motivation. Let's go back, just because I don't want to build that large of a list onto my dashboard. So I went back. I just clicked the back button, and we're going to do a vacant house list. And the vacant house list in Kansas City is huge too.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's really big.
Yeah.
I wanted a little bit smaller list. So here's what I'm going to do. Well, let's see. I tell you what. I'll start it. I'll just grab this page. So I'm going to grab the first 250 records out of this big 4,316 record list.
That's opportunity.
And I'm gonna add this to a list. Now, if I was doing this in the real world, I would add the whole thing. Now, I like to put an S for a seller list. I like to put Kansas City vacant. And I'm going to leave my workflow automation as the default, my list permissions as the default. I'm going to create my list. Now, the reason I didn't grab the whole list was it takes a few minutes to aggregate all of that data and build the list. And I didn't want to sit here on the show and have you guys just watch a spinning thing.
You could have narrated the spinning. Well, it's still spinning, guys.
Yeah, and there we still see it going, but instead we're only going to add the 250 records that I grabbed from that first page, and there we go. So that happens pretty fast. So you can see, if we would have put 4,500 on there, it would have taken a couple of minutes, and I didn't want to wait. So here we go. We've got the first 250, and I clicked into that, and so here's our list, all built in FreedomSoft. Now let's just click on the top one, and I'm going to look at a couple of things. We did Kansas City, Missouri. So here's the property address, here's the mailing address, and the mailing state. This is how I like to set my dashboards up, because I like to see the address of the property, the mailing address of the owner, the zip code, and then the mailing state. So where do they live? They're out of state, right? So let's just click in on this one. And then here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to the snapshot, and this is where the dig tool starts to step up and to step in. So, okay, Don Julian Builders. Let's go back, because we don't have a picture on this one. It might be under construction. Let's see. Absentee owned, corporate owned, distant landlord, vacant. And I'm going to go back, because I want to get one up here that we can kind of see just a good looking house on. So I'll go back, I click the second one, view snapshot.
There we go.
There we go. All right. So what do we got? We've got an absentee owner and a vacant house. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, estimated value of $100,000. And now watch this. So we get the basic information here. Now we could scroll down this property snapshot through this area with these pictures, and this is the dig tool in action, right? But if I go down here, we can get comps. We can actually pull up and get rental comps. We can go down here. The owner of this property doesn't own any others. There's no additional portfolio. We can see all assessor and tax information and sales history. Now, what I want to spend our time on, though, is this, the dig tool. We found these additional opportunities for you. So we want to pretend that this address was either on a built list, It was imported by you if you're switching CRMs from whatever you've been using into the better system of FreedomSoft, and you're now using FreedomSoft and you're bringing your lists in, or you've got an inbound lead. You know, this could be an inbound lead from a bandit sign or from an online ad or from something. And so regardless of how this address got onto your dashboard, what FreedomSoft said is, let's look at where this is, let's look at what this is, let's look at the motivating factors behind it, and can we go find additional opportunities in the geography that you, as an investor, might be interested in. Mm-hmm. And we've got 8 of them. Now watch this. I'm going to click on this first one right here, 4605 Agnes. I'm going to click on this, and you'll notice what it does is it opens another tab up here on the property snapshot window. And so we've got 2 tabs open right now. And this second tab, the Agnes tab, is the first opportunity from the Dig tool. And you can see we've got an absentee owner. It's also vacant. It was bought in 2020, January of 2020, worth about $67,500. And here's what I want you guys to see. Check this out. So not only did this come from the Dig tool, but the Dig tool looked for more. And so what you'll notice is that you can just go down this rabbit hole, because here, this one on Bales, now the 3rd tab came off of, we had Wabash was the initial record. We had the Dig tool find on Agnes. And then from Agnes, the Dig tool found this Bales. We can see this one's about worth $72,000. It's a 2-1. Now look at this one though. It's absentee owner, it's a tired landlord, it's vacant, and it's got a lot of equity. So you can see that if you kind of dig down into what the Dig tool throws at you, you can find some pretty good little opportunities. And so here's the owner, here's the last sale date. We can come down. We've got more Dig tool opportunities here, but we can come right down into it and say, well, what is the deal with this house? We can zoom in, we can look at the comps, we can figure out the rental comps, we can do all of this stuff. Now here's what's kind of fun. I can go up here, and Henry, you teach people this stuff all the time. Like, you're talking to people about this all the time. Mm-hmm. And I can click Add to Lead List, and notice that blue button up here just went from Add to Lead List to View Lead. So we've just seen it by the Dig tool, and we've added it to a list. So now it's there. It's in our opportunities list, so we're not going to lose it. Yeah. If we like what we see and it matches our criteria, we've quickly with a click added it to a list.
Yeah, this is why I described it like a deeper layer of driving for dollars. Because I just trained, actually this morning, no joke, a guy that is doing driving for dollars, and he was using like a routing tool. But regardless, that routing tool just planned the route, and then he still had to go out and drive. And then he showed me physically a yellow note card that had each individual address and like some individual notes on what he saw, right? Yeah. And then he's got to enter them into FreedomSoft, which is great because he made a spreadsheet of it, and I taught him how to import it. No problem, right? Yep. That's great. But this, I didn't have to go out, and then you clicked one button, and now let's just say you sat here and did this for 15 minutes, and you were really picky about the type of house you were looking for, the type of motivating icons, right? Yep. And you were super picky. But, 10 minutes goes by, 15 minutes goes by, and you've clicked that button, 20 times. Yep. Go to your opportunities list. Yep. You've just built a very, very zoned in,
totally,
quote unquote, driving for dollars-ish list that meet what you're looking for or what you're trying to buy or what you have a buyer for. And now you have a list that you can, match up to a T.
Yeah.
A postcard that hits on that pane.
Well, let's do that just one little extra level. So I just clicked another one. This one now on Euclid, absentee owner, corporate owned, vacant, and a cash buyer. So a cash buyer bought this one, Fountain City Homes.
$3,300.
And they bought it for $3,300 in 2018. So I look at that one and I say, nah, you know what? Probably not, because, not that I wouldn't send them a postcard, but if I was trying to build that targeted list that you just talked about, Henry, I would probably, let's see, actually though, but it's vacant. They bought it in 2018. It's still vacant. They paid nothing for it, so they've got a ton of equity. So you know what? I probably would.
Yeah, I mean, when I see this, it screams, they bought it for cheap with plans, and the plans never happened.
And the plans never took place. That's right. Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. So I am. I just clicked add to opportunities list, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna click one more. So what do we got on this one? Absentee, corporate owned, vacant. Okay, that's good. I'm gonna close that one. Let's go to the second one on this. Absentee, distant, vacant. So this is an out-of-state owner.
All the way to Georgia.
All over in Georgia. So I like that one. Let's add to the lead list. So watch this. Now if I click view lead, I can jump in to the record in FreedomSoft, and I can see the details, the specifics, if I was to take notes. And you'll notice that it's added to my opportunities list in my pipeline. And so if I click on that, I go over here. Now I've opened my opportunities list. If I click into it, there's new, and you can see here's those last three that I just added: Bales, Euclid, and 59th. Mm-hmm. So now to Henry's point, if you were specific and you went, for 15 or 20 minutes, and you went specific and you used the dig tool and you were very particular and you added 20 records to your opportunities list, you come in here and you do this. You select them, you go here to more actions, and you go down to send direct mail. And just like this, you select the sequence that you want to drop those 20 postcards into, and we could just do a We Buy Houses or a Driving for Dollars, or we could do a multi-step. If we just did a Driving for Dollars, actually, let me do We Buy Houses. I could accept this, click send, and with one click, mails out the door. Yeah. That's how simple this is.
What I like about it too is you can do it very intentional like that. You can put time aside in your day, and you can go in there for a half hour and really get specific with it, but also within the scope of what you're actually doing day to day as an active investor, you can put systems in place to do it then as well. Yep. So when a lead comes into a campaign, it's just in your system as you're evaluating that lead to evaluate the area and see if there's any opportunities. But when you're, whatever the case may be, but I just like that it's built in to what you're doing. Yep,
100%. Yeah, it's really cool, and I know, Henry, you're talking with people about this every day, all day. What's some of the feedback that people give when they see this? Not just how simple it is, mm-hmm. but just how efficient and effective it is.
I mean, the feedback is it's a time saver, and they don't have to remember to go build a list, know what to look for, especially when they get a taste of how, like you said, that close rate is different from just building a massive, like it was 10,000 large. Like if you just did that whole list and you didn't know what to look for, break it down from there. Now leads will generate out of that list, no doubt. It's so big, 100%. Right? But if you're trying to get the most motivated sellers to be calling you and, to spending your time adequately on the phone with good conversations, that's the feedback that we hear. Because when the lead actually generates from these highly DealAI generated houses, it's just better conversations.
Well, here's what I think we also find, and correct me if this is consistent with the conversations you have with investors. It's one of two things, right? It's a newer investor that has a limited budget, mm-hmm. that doesn't want to go build a 10,500 record list and mail it all because they don't want to spend $5,000, right? So it's a newer investor with a limited budget that wants to get very, very honed in. And it's an experienced investor with a team who is doing marketing and doing lead generation for the team, but also wants the team to be looking for opportunities on their own. And the team, when they get an inbound lead and then see the property snapshot, can keep their eyes open for opportunities that might be missed through the marketing, through the list building, through other areas of the business. And so the Dig tool is powerful in that respect for those two reasons.
Yeah, I like that. It's the time in between the conversations and the time in between the deals where the DealAI can help that acquisitions person, show up and show something that they were not even aware of.
Yep.
Yeah, and we have that bigger team that was doing that, and where after conversations or when the lead would generate, would go in and save the first 8.
Yep.
And then send marketing out.
Yep.
And that's the marketing in between everything else that's happening in their company.
Yeah.
And it generated them deals.
Well, I was just talking to an investor last week, maybe a week and a half ago now, and we were talking about, he was using FreedomSoft. He started to use another system to do some of his list building, and then after about 3 months, he's like, man, he just abandoned it. And he came back and he's like, I'm just going to build my list in FreedomSoft again. And I said, well, what is one of the things that is drawing you back? Like, why are you not using this other list building tool anymore? And why are you back into using it in FreedomSoft? And he said 2 things. The simplicity of, I can build the list I want quick. The effective lists are pre-built. I can add any adjustments to them with the advanced filters if I want to. It's all in one place. I can lock down the permissions on my team, so only who I want to have access to the list can have access to the list and run the marketing. But then he said, and the Dig tool. He goes, Rob, we closed 9 extra deals last quarter that came off of the Dig tool alone.
Yeah.
Like, that's 3 deals a month last quarter, 3 deals a month, 9 in total that closed just because he trained his team to look for opportunities from the Dig tool. And he's like, that was meaningful. Like, we wholesaled some of those. We added some of those to the portfolio. We turnkey rented some of those. Like, that was an easily $150,000 bump to our quarter because of that. And I'm like, well, I'd probably come back too.
Yeah.
A useful tool when used is going to help, right?
That's right.
If it's just sitting there and it's not being used, he wouldn't have gotten those.
That's exactly right.
So yeah, I mean that's a really cool testimonial from him, and he's back now too. So it's great.
Yeah, he's back. He's using it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Guys, so DealAI and the Dig tool was sort of our first jump into using AI-powered data for lead generation for real estate investors. Like, everybody with ChatGPT is going kind of the voice and the chat and the communication angle with AI, and we've got some really cool stuff in the works on that front. But we really first wanted to lean in on the things that didn't change the way a real estate investor did business. We wanted to lean in on things that amplified the results that a real estate investor would get when they did business the way they've been doing it successfully for years.
Right.
And that's why we leaned into DealAI, the Dig tool, and AI for lead generation first. And that's just been an intentional decision on our part. And I don't know, I think it was a good call based on the feedback and what we see our users doing as a result of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Sweet, guys. Well, what else? Anything else we want to talk about on this? I feel like we've covered it pretty well. And at the end of the day, I wanted to, in today's show, I wanted to give people a look into it. Yeah. I wanted them to see it in action, because it's hard to sometimes describe it, and until you see it live with an address, and like people saw today, Hey, pick a city.
Yeah.
Okay, pick a city. Okay, great. Build a list. Okay, we got the list built. Click on an address. And then boom, down this rabbit hole of opportunities, and then select all, send mail.
Yeah.
And that's how you add 150K to your quarter.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, their first experience with the dig tool is they may not do it the way you did it. They'll just search a house that they know of in their local market,
Yeah.
right? And so like if I search my personal residence here in Colorado, it's going to also find 8 additional potential motivating sellers in the area around my house.
Right.
Which is insane. And I wouldn't have even, because I may not drive down those streets or know about those houses. I think that's how a lot of people first look and find the dig tool. Is they'll just, from the homepage of FreedomSoft, search an address that they are curious about or know about, and then it'll dig up 8 results around that house.
Yeah. It sort of reminds me of the story Mike told last week about the guy in New York who was driving for dollars, legitimate, like driving around, collected 20 addresses, put them in FreedomSoft. He was talking about mail now system and how he's easily able to just kick out really targeted marketing, to those small number of houses. But he could have amplified that 20 into maybe 50 or maybe 45 and of like motivation and target, very highly targeted. And so, it's just it's incredible to see you talk about lead amplification. I mean, that is exactly what it is. And it's an amplification of your business systems. So if you have them systems right, it's just going to kick it up.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, I think that brings us to a wrap on this one. I just want to remind everybody that this show was brought to you by FreedomSoft. I want to thank you for listening. If you did get value out of this and you want to share it with your friends, family, and acquaintances, do that on social media, like this, subscribe, and you'll get notified the next time we drop another one. And we'll be back here in the studio talking about more things real estate investing and how you can build wealth next time. We'll see ya. Bye.